Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to PBTV. I'm Stuart, and as you can see, I've got an absolute pile of stuff on the table in front of me. So today we're going to be looking at a load of brand new accessories and sort of mods that have just landed with us. So as always, if you see anything, you want to know if it fits a certain way, has any particular functions, by all means drop us a question. We'll flash it up and we'll make sure we get an answer to you ASAP. So I'll start at the front from the left and work across. So these are just back with us. We've not seen these for a long time, but the G&P D-Bals are back with us. And I think you should just be able to see the white light hitting the wall behind me and the red laser. So these things, it does come with the little button pressure pad as well, making it nice and easy to use. All the controls on the back here, you've got different power settings off, light, illume, all that kind of different stuff. So you can set it in the function that you want, and then the button will activate that combination of settings, whether or not it's low power with just laser, low power with just light, high power with both, all that good stuff. It is a click to press with the main button on the device, but then the pressure pad also does the same. It is just a 3.5mm jack lead that goes into it, so for those guys that have torches as well, you can get sort of combo pressure pads, one that will go to your torch and one that goes to this, and allows it to function whichever one you want. The torch is relatively quite bright for this as well. Jacob on YouTube, can you do a side-by-side of the D-Bal versus the PEC 15? Not right now, because I haven't got a PEC 15 with me, but what we'll do is I'll do a size comparison on Instagram afterwards. I'll put it on the story and just give a size comparison. Torch-wise, it is actually quite good. The low power is really good if you're just doing like map reading or something like that. You just need a little bit of light. But throwing this up to high power, it does make a definite difference. So it will be really, really functional, really, really useful CQB indoors and anything like that. Just cutting around corners and just wanting to do a bit of dazzling the enemy if that's what you're into. It does have zero capability as well, so the laser and the torch do have dials. The ones on the torch are obviously locked because it's just a torch, you don't need to zero a torch, but the ones on the laser, you can just rotate them slightly so you can adjust your windage and elevation to make sure that laser is on point exactly where you need it. It takes a single CR123 battery, which goes in the center here. So you unscrew that, and you will find your battery compartment in there. The battery does come in the box with these, so you get one battery off the bat. It comes in a little plastic wrapped thing, so it is a brand new fresh battery with it, which makes it ready and good to go. All you need to do is QD mount this to your rail, which you'll find on the side here. You press this little lock latch, the arm spins round, and then when you grab this and pull it across, all it does, it's working against a spring and tighten it against the rail. If for whatever reason, when you're tightening this up, it's still a bit loose or you can't quite close this, there's a flat-headed screw on this side. You can just loosen that slightly and you can adjust it so it's exactly the right tightness for the rail that you've got. These things work great if they're top-mounted, side-mounted. These have been well sought after for a long, long time. I'm really happy that we've got them back in. The guy that just mentioned about PEC 15s as well, looking at the two iron sights in front of me. So these are brand new with us. They're not very big, but you can see them there. The idea of these, they replace your front iron sight, and what they do is they allow the PEC 15 torch head to sit where it's meant to be on the front. You don't have to mount it further back and it be in the way of your iron sights, stopping them flip up or anything like that. This is just, it fits onto the rail and it just allows the PEC to fit nice and neatly on the front. So it's an iron sight that combos really, really well with your PEC 15s, and they are in bronze and black. These do have adjustments like your normal iron sights, and it is an Allen key to fit it, but these things look really, really cool when you've got them mounted in with your PEC box. Coming back a little bit in the little white box here, all you guys that have got your gas blowbacks, your MWSs and stuff like that, this is definitely something you want to have a look at. This is a tunable recoil buffer and spring system. So there's a spring in here, there's a weight in here, and there's a load of nylon shims. So the idea of this is this will give you the option to change the speed of which your bolt travels and how far back it goes as well. So you can see all the different white shims and everything like that, but the buffer is here that has a spring in it as well. So normally in a gas weapon you have the buffer, it goes back, hits the back of the buffer tube and then comes back under spring pressure. This has almost like a bounce back spring, so as it hits the back it's then going to get thrown forward really quick and return to battery a lot more efficiently. All these different size shims here are to make sure you can shim it back so your bolt doesn't travel as far, you're not using as much gas or anything like that. It just allows a lot more versatility with gas rifles, which is obviously great when it starts getting into the winter months and you want it to be more efficient, or you just want it to be a bit faster. There are some instructions in there of how to sort it out, because there's some measurements you need to do to get the most efficiency about where your bolt carrier sits in relation to your breech, the top side of it, but all the instructions are in there and it is actually really easy to follow, which is really, really cool. Coming on to gas weapons as well. So this, I believe this works with GBBs and mid caps of some variety. Most likely GBBs, but this will click onto any magazine, by the way, not just GBB ones. But so it'll slide onto your AG, your mid caps or anything like that. But the design of this is to give you an extra few rounds in your gas mags. So there's a little pin here. You can knock that down. You can just see it there. So you knock that pin down, it replaces your bottom plate, you slide this on and it gives you an extra 5 BBs in the bottom of there. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're talking about GBB mags and you've only got between 35 and 40, an extra 5 is quite a lot. It's a big percentage of rounds capable for it. So next on the list is this little piece. Doesn't look like much, but it is a really, really cool design of what this allows is this goes on the back of the MCX SIG. So normally you have the little section of rail that you get your normal stock on. This allows you to run an M4 style stock tube. You can screw it straight in and you can then throw any style of stock on that you want. So all it is you slide this onto the little bit of rail on the back and the silver piece in there, you screw the little grub screw down in there and it locks it in place. You can then throw any style of buffer tube on there you want, and then you can throw a CTR on there, any of the PTS grips, any of the PTS stocks or anything like that, and make your SIG look very, very different for a very, very small, quite unassuming piece of CNC metal. It does feel really well made, and it'll I think the aesthetic of the SIG will make this look really, really cool. So that gives you a load more options for the SIG, meaning that you can just have yours look a little bit different to other people's. So coming on to the 2 torches that I've got on the right hand side, they are both of a similar design. One's the XL and one's the standard. So these are the WML torches that are really, really cool. If you if you're over gripping, Speedy Boys love these. They sit really neatly at the front of your platform, so you can replace your front iron sights with these. And they're RIS mounted, so imagine if this was sat where your front iron sights were, and you can activate it at the back here with your thumb. There is a bar there to stop any accidental activations if you're just gripping standard, and then you can drop it down, activate it, and come off. There is a lever here. This is a function choice. So when it's back like this, it's press on, press off. If it's at the front here, it is press and hold. So if you're pressing it, it's on. If you release it, it's off. I can't remember which way around it is, but in one of the positions, if you double tap it, it turns the strobe on as well. And this thing strobing, it's horrible. I might have upset some people in the office with it a minute ago, but yeah. If you're looking for something to be fast, aggressive, and a very, very functional torch, this is absolutely awesome. If you want something a little bit smaller, so you can see the 2 different size comparisons there. So if you've got an AR, that'll be a bit better. If you've got something like an ARP9 or an Evo maybe, this is probably the better one. But you can see the size difference and obviously the head difference. Oh, Stephen Waddle. Ooh, I like that. Which bit? Which bit? They're all awesome. So which bit are you liking? The torches or the SIG part? 'Cause I think that SIG part's going to be really, 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 really popular. I've not looked at the details of this, but I do think the large one is a higher lumen as well. It's a bigger head on the end, and it is probably a little bit brighter. But very, very simply, you unscrew the front end. And a single CR123 drops in this one. In the large one, it's a double. So you need CR123s with these. Screw it back together, and you are good to go. Scroach on YouTube. That press looks quite resistant on a torch. So how hard it is to press? No, it was just it's very centralized. So this whole thing isn't actually a button. I think it's more of just a size thing for the thumb. But there is a very, very small, almost micro switch. It's very similar to if you've played with pressure switches with the D-bal. It's actually very similar to that. So there's enough resistance behind it, but if you're gripping the front end and you're pressing, it's quite intuitive and really, really cool. The bit that is actually extremely strong and grippy is the way that they've done this mounting. So you can kind of see how the rail bit is pushing in really, really hard. There is a spring inside the rail section there. So how hard I'm having to press that to open the rail system up. So when this is on, it's holding itself in place. There's no screws or dials or anything like that. There's a massive spring force in there that's holding this on, so it's not going to go anywhere. It's really, really good. And I do like the anti-activation bar. That's really, really good. When that sits at the back like that, it just means it's a lot easier to not accidentally press it, especially if you're quite fast and you're trying to stay a little bit stealthy and you don't want to accidentally press this thing. You can just drop the bar up. It doesn't turn anything off. It's not an electrical cut off or anything like that. It just means your thumb can't physically, you've got to deliberately try and get behind it. And even then, I can't quite press the button. You've got to be underneath and press it quite deliberately. So as soon as I've just knocked it over, we'll come on to one of the big pieces at the back. If anyone could tell me what this is, when I was looking at it to get this in, I didn't really know what it was, but then I saw what it looks like when it's built, and this is actually a collapsing stock for a SCAR. So it's for the WE one and the VFC one. I will have to check to see if it fits any other brands. That's just what they've marked on the box that these fit. I don't know if they're going to fit TM or anything like that, but if you wanted to turn your SCAR into something a little bit different, a little bit more CQB-esque, this is where it is. I do believe that they've obviously put WE and everything like this because most of the time batteries go in the stock of SCARs. There's not many other places to fit your batteries, so this is mainly aimed at your gas blowback SCARs and everything like that. But there's a little lever underneath here. Press that, and you can slide it out into all the different sections, and it just gives you a slightly different platform to do it. Very, very cool. When I saw these built up on some of the pictures, it is... it's very different, but it does look quite cool once you've seen them. Skeleton stocks are usually not my cup of tea, purely because I don't like trying to cheat weld on the metal bars. But because they've put this bit up here, I think this is going to be much more preferred compared to other stuff. Big, thick, chunky thing to throw into your shoulder, because obviously this is going to go on a gas blowback system. You need something to make sure this is fully stable in your shoulder and not going to go anywhere, and they've not spared anything with materials. It is really, really cool. So coming on to another style stock. Oh, Scratch on YouTube. What is the torch called? So these are called the WML torches. So this is the WML standard. This is the WMLX, obviously just because it's bigger. So these should be online, maybe, well, this one may be online by the end of today. If not, both of these will be online tomorrow. They do come in little hard cases, so if you're not wanting to keep them on your platforms, that's totally fine. They come with the boxes, so you can keep them safe and protected as well. But they don't come with batteries, so if you are planning on getting one, you will have to get hold of some CR123s and make sure that they are functioning properly. But they're super bright, super awesome, and the way that they fit on stuff, it's really, really good. The throw of the big one, it has quite a wide throw, but there is a sort of hot spot in the center. So those guys are being quite fast and aggressive. You have that hot spot in the center that's almost like a secondary aiming device as well. So wherever that hot spot is, you know your BBs are going to land there as well. So I'll quickly touch on the last bit that I've got here. Again, similar to the SCAR one, it's another collapsing stock. Little button that drops it down. It does come in pieces in the box, so we've just thrown it together slightly. But this is very, very interesting because I've managed to build one of these already. So this one is for the MP9. Turns it into a nice little compact platform. I know it normally has the folding one, the little tiny scraggly stock that I'm not a massive fan of, but you press the button, slides out, and it comes into another position like that. Just makes it slightly different, slightly interesting, and it's a fixed, solid position as it's on there. Plastic butt stop, 2 metal arms coming out, and a big CNC'd chunk of metal holding it onto the MP9 itself. Really, really cool. And then you can press it again and collapse it down, and you're good to go. I think it's just a little bit easier than trying to draw out the big arm. It just makes it, if you are running this as a concealer or anything, it just allows for a bit of a faster deployment, and you're good to go with it. So, if there's any other questions, by all means drop them in the thing below. I can see a few coming up. How much for the Pew box? I presume he may mean a PEC box. So, the D-Bals. These are going to be around 109. So these are the non-IR versions. That's why they're a little bit cheaper than other bits and bats. So because the IR systems are what cause things to be very, very expensive, this is a non-IR version. So it just means it's purely a torch and a laser. Makes it a lot cheaper and a lot easier to use. What these also have as well, I didn't cover it before, is these rubber caps at the front. These are, again, your accidental sort of exposure. You can either put them on to keep them safe if they're in a box or anything like that, stops anything getting damaged, but it also stops you accidentally knocking something, pressing it. If you're working a night game or anything like that, you don't want to accidentally activate your torch. Paul Eastwood, which make MP9 does the stock fit? It's the MP9 is for the ASG or the KWA. So KWA or ASG, this will drop straight on. It comes with the pins and the screws in the box. So when it comes in the box, the buttstock is off. It is separate, and there's some screw ports. We've not put it in because we don't want to scratch or anything. It's just mounted on. So you get all the screws, and you get the securing pins in the box to mount it. Scrutch, not related to this, but do you know when you will be getting the Cybergun gas mags in? For the Desert Eagle, I presume. I think you mean, because we did the recent show on them. I will have to check and get back to you, but I think they should be quite soon. We've had a load of Desert Eagles in, so if they're not in yet, they might still be working through the delivery and trying to get to them. So at the end of that, they might find them and get them online, but they've also got to do it in sections. But they've probably done the Desert Eagles already, and eventually they might get to the mags. But I'll have a look, and I'll try and find your comment in a bit, and I'll make sure I try and get a reply to you. But I'll just do a quick overview of everything that we've had. So I've had another quick look at the D-Bal. So that's torch laser. You can zero the laser and everything like that. It's really, really cool, and it's a single CR123 battery, and you've got loads and loads of options with it, with power levels, laser or visible torch. You don't have to have both on. You can have whichever one you want on, and it's quite intuitive and setting it up. The two little iron sights that I've got in front of me, these are to work with a PEC 15, so you can see how the cutout comes there. So the idea of this is when your PEC 15 is on your rail, the torch section on the side just sits neatly inside that, which means you can still run an iron sight without it being intruded or a flip up. You don't need to do it. It just becomes a single package on its own. The Magic Buffer, like loads of guys that have got your MWS or I think a few other gas blowback M4s will run this. It is a tunable recoil system, so you can add spacers and everything like that. You can speed up your bolt carrier group to return to battery faster, or you can actually make it travel less distance, making it more efficient for your colder months, or even in the summer you can make it move faster. Jacob on YouTube, do you sell any CTR stocks that are mil-spec for GBB? I think some of them will be, but I will have to find out, because if I told you which one, I'll probably tell you the wrong one, because there's a couple of different ones, but I would have to measure them. The difference is the mil-spec buffer is larger, so most airsoft ones will fit on it. It's just extremely stiff, so you'll be able to get it on, get it in position, and it's fixed. If you want in the freedom to then move it as normal, you get in the mil-spec one. You wanting to look at a PTS one, either EPS stock or the CTRs, I think they are all mil-spec, because they make ones for the Matten, they make ones for the LM4 and everything like that. So PTS ones is my best guess, but I'll try and find out exactly afterwards. The other couple of bits I've got in front of me as well, the M4 sort of magazine extender, so it adds a little bit of weight to the bottom. Not much, these are quite light, but when you're thinking of magazines are quite light anyway. And with gas mags, you can modify the gas mags so that you get an extra few rounds into your magazine as well. But these can fit onto standard AEG ones if you just want the look. We've got the SIG M4 stock adapter, so those guys that are running the MCX or anything like that, this sits onto the RIS bit at the back of your rifle. You tighten the grip screw down, and then you can fit any stock tube into there and run a standard M4 stock and keep it as a solid platform. So we've got the SCAR, WE SCAR collapsing stock, skeletonized stock. This is definitely designed for the gas one, but if there is another way of wiring where your batteries go, this will probably fit on other ones, but this is definitely designed for the GBB ones, purely because there's no battery space in there for anything else. And then finally coming onto the torches again, so these are the WML torches. We've got the X and the standard. Obviously the massive size difference between the two, but these both function the same way. Is you've got the anti-accidental discharge bar, drop that down, there's a little button here. When you press the button, you've got a option lever here. So when it's at the front, it's press is on and release is off, and you can keep pressing and just activate it as and when. When it's over on the other side, it's press stays on, press turn off, and in one of the settings you can double tap it and it turns the strobe on, and then press it once, it turns off. Undoing the head, that's where you'll find your battery compartment. This takes 2 CR123 batteries, and this one takes 1. What you'll notice as well is these are sort of fast-paced torches. These aren't something that you want to be using on walks or anything like that and having permanently on and searching or anything like that. These are sort of activated and turned off. Because they're LEDs, they can heat up. They have got a nice heat sink in there. All that metalwork in there is the heat sink to keep it nice and cool. And they do have O-rings in the battery compartment to make sure they are waterproof to a point. But these aren't meant to be left on. These are activated, used, turned off, just to stop the LED overheating and doing anything like that. Again, these are spring-loaded attachment, so when you undo the cap here, you press that down, and once this is on, the spring force in that catch there, this is not coming off your rail without you taking it off. It is really, really cool how they mount these. But yeah, and they do come in the hard cases as well. The MP9 stock, I quickly showed it earlier, so the MP9 stock sits on the back, you can press the button and it comes out, so this fits onto the ASG or the KWA one. Just makes it slightly different and a little bit unique. But bit of a quick one, but I think we've got a load of information out there. These have all just landed with us, so they'll be on the website within the next few days. We hopefully try and get them on as fast as possible so you can look at them. But we hopefully this has been a nice little insight into what's coming to the website very, very soon. As always, May Madness is on, but finishes in a week. So if you have seen something on there, it's interesting you, jump on there, because once the stock's gone, it is gone. But if you're looking at other stuff, don't worry. If you do grab something and then it ends up in May Madness, as always, we will honour the new price. All you got to do is ring us and we'll sort out the difference. So if you're waiting for something to drop into May Madness, but you want it anyway, just grab it. And then if you do see it go cheaper, just give us a ring and we'll refund you. But if that's everything, it's been great to speak to you as always. We will catch you again tomorrow at 4 p.m. For another standard unboxing or review. Until then, I'll see you in a bit. Bye.